Yeah, bud.
Hey, what's up, Internet? This is Eric. You may know me from my druidic folk band Wild Shape is Broken. Today we're going to learn how to write a drum chart for Lora Bidner's When We Were Young. This is a self-described adult contemporary chart, so there's a few things that we're going to want to keep in mind. First off, this genre of music generally tends towards the smaller percussion side of things. And though that isn't the case for this particular song, if I were to work with Lora live, I'd assume that I'm bringing cajon, shakers, tambourine, that kind of thing. Make sure any instrument requirements or changes are written nice and big on the chart so as not to catch your drummer off guard. If you don't know how to notate something as exotic and strange as a triangle or guiro, feel free to write it out as plain English, or just make something up and incorporate a legend like this. It may not be proper notation, but if you can't be correct, at least be consistent. Fortunately, we won't be needing that for this particular chart. As always, conventions will vary from community to community, but if I was playing with your band, this is roughly what I'd want to see. Now, for the first question when it comes to notating any drum chart. Nothing too odd about the genre itself, but I can hear a few bars of 6/4 in the track. We also have multiple tempo changes, so I'm going to go to this fancy website here and track those right now.
Another quick thing to note, when you can, try to express tempo changes in terms of ratios, like quarter note equals half note. It is rare to find a drummer who can play a perfect 105 BPM without any context. Unfortunately, the tempo changes in the song don't actually have those perfect ratios, so we're just going to write their absolute BPM values instead.
Now, Lora's not your everyday songwriter. She's also a film and TV composer, so her music has this affect of mystical freedom, which is fantastic for evoking a feeling of wandering the Canadian North under the Northern Lights, but it also means that there's no way that this song is just going to fit nicely into one of my genre-form presets. We've got odd bar groupings, loads of legato sections, no cyclical structure per se. In a tune like this, I would try to add rehearsal marks rather than say verse, chorus, refrain to keep myself on track. I've also written in lyrics for certain points just to make sure that I can orient myself if ever I become lost in the form and need something to listen for. Alright, now we write our beats. For this song, general approximations of the drum beats are fine. Expect loose interpretation of the groove that you write. There's no real need to write every single ghost note. There's no shots that jump out at me in particular, maybe the quarter notes at 48, but they're non-essential, so I'm basically just going to write them out as accented crashes. The hi-hats and the final decrescendo into the piano strike me as being important, so I'm going to go ahead and mark those. Even if there's no big difference in the rhythms, try to make changes visually striking. It's kind of hard to make out the difference between the hi-hats and ride cymbals when the beat is the same, so I try to change something non-essential that kind of catches my eye, makes me reevaluate what the groove is. So here I have one kick versus two kicks at E. It's small, but it helps me click into things a little bit better. It's okay to have your hi-hat, snare, and kick all sharing a stem, but as a rule of thumb, I tend to group my drum parts as static versus non-static parts. So here you can see in the upper part, my hi-hat and ride don't change, so it becomes its own group. The bottom parts, however, are all connected together, and that lets my eyes concentrate on what does change, the snare and kick. There are multiple dynamic moments in the song, mostly big rests and any kind of removal of drums. All parts that should feel loud are being marked with crescendos or decrescendos. You can use piano and forte, that's actually probably preferred, but I prefer something a little bit more visually striking when I'm reading a gigging chart. Remember, drummers will always naturally add fills as needed. Don't write fills unless you're absolutely sure that you need them there. There's a little section here at 33 that could use a minor fill, so I'm going to go ahead and write slashes to keep time and write fill over top. Remember, don't notate every single note of your fill unless you're absolutely sure that you need that sound. It's akin to writing out a walking bass line or a solo. Your drummer should know how to fill better than you do. So always be re-listening during notation to make sure that you don't miss anything. For example, it appears that I have switched around bars 47 and 48. Those are important ones. You don't generally have to notate crashes, but I will anyway. Bars 68 and 69 could be a little bit softer. We can add some double bar lines here as punctuation. If we did this right, they should all be on the last bar of a system. Now, let's trim some fat. We're going to add repeats and codas. Repeats just so I don't have to read the exact same thing 1,000 times. Formatting, right, you know what? I don't actually need this A. I'm just going to say from the top if I need to take it from here. I don't care how much you have to scooch things, make those tempo changes nice and visible. Alright, what is this F doing here? You can move. Alright, something looks weird here at E. I feel like I should have 8 bars before 67. Nope, but you know what? I'm happy that I listened again just to make sure. We don't really need to add repeat signs here because the beats change so quickly, but I guess if we want to, more power to you, but I don't know, I might change my mind on this. Let's see. Alright, this would really be more accurate with a buzz roll sign on the snare. Problem is I don't want people accidentally doing a full roll into the next bar. So you know what? This is why they invented English. I'm just going to write this out over top and we should be good. I really want to make these tempo changes more obvious than they actually are. You know what? There is actually a bit of a watch out symbol that exists. These glasses right here, they will do. I'm going to move them right down here. We could scooch over that bar line. And finally, let's go ahead and get our artist name and song title in there. Now, let's export this bad boy and see what we got.
When we were young, we fought battles in our yard. When we were young, all the castles were ours. And now I forgot what it's like to breathe unconditionally. And now I look back on those sweet memories, and all of them, they're lost in time. They're lost in time. When we were young, we were dreamers without goals. And oh, my mind stuck on having our grace in our head. Oh, it's easy to fall when you're already down. Are you lost in time? When we were young, we fought battles in our yard. When we were young, all the castles were ours.
Now we have a nice legible drum chart that I would be proud to introduce to my grandma. I won't ask you to like, comment, subscribe, but as a personal favor to me, please use this video to write a nice drum chart instead of asking your drummer to try to recreate Fruity Loops beats on the cajon. Also, please support the artist that was kind enough to let me use her music for this video. This is Lora Bidner's When We Were Young off of her album To the North. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you all next time.